Welcome to What Not to Do. I'm Kyle Schmidt, and this is episode 12. I've got Matt Kowalczyk with me, owner of Cornerstone Benefits Consulting. He's had it all, he's lost it all, and now that he's got it back, he's taking others with him. You're going to love this episode where he leans into his failures to help equip you for success. So stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right. So I've got Matt Kowalczyk with me today, and this is my first time at a coffee shop called The Exchange. It's here in this is technically west of here, right?
This would be west of here, yes.
On this side of the river, and it's amazing. Not Matt's first time, but I'm sipping a cortado, which is cortado con pana, I think. Espresso with steamed milk, and for me, I'm rolling with the heavy cream. Give me all the fat, baby, right?
That's awesome.
And Matt, what are you drinking?
I'm actually just having a cinnamon spice tea.
Nice.
Yeah, very manly. Very manly.
So we just got dumped. I don't know. What do you think? 6, 7, 8 inches last night.
It was a surprise. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But it was beautiful, man. Yeah. It was. You look outside. It was gorgeous, and then you get the shovel, and it's not as beautiful.
Yeah, it's always a gift, and it's really how you look at it, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you live, for folks that are living in climates where you don't get snow or hardly ever, it's really, one of my favorite quotes is, life is 10% what happens to you, 90% how you react to it. So you could be grumpy about the snow and probably ruin the rest of your Tuesday, or you could be thankful for it and admire the beauty and be on with your day. So.
Yeah, it was actually quite funny because my wife actually got up and said, "Wow, is that beautiful?" And my wife is warm-blooded by nature. Her family lives in Florida. She wants us to live in Florida. So for her to look outside and say, "Wow, that is beautiful," I'm like, huh. So it was a blessing because through the snow there was sunshine, and yeah, it was beautiful.
Yeah. Oh man, well, we don't have Florida, but we got some nice jazz in the background for you guys, and hope you are enjoying that.
Cool jazz.
That's right. But Matt, we've met before. This is not our first rodeo. This is not our first time together.
Correct.
But our listeners, aside from the folks that you've shared the podcast with, probably have no idea who you are or what you do. So give us some context. Tell us about Matt. Who are you? Where do you come from?
I am, first of all, I'm a child of Christ. So God has been my Lord and Savior since 2004. I'm blessed with a beautiful wife, and between the two of us, we have 5 kids.
That's awesome.
So
we're trying to catch up with you.
Kind of a Brady Bunch, right? Yeah, exactly. But as far as career-wise, started a company called Cornerstone Benefits Consulting a number of years ago, and what we do is we focus on educating people on money. We help them not be a slave to the lender and not focus on the wrong God in retirement and leave a legacy bigger than themselves. And we do that through working through protection, savings, growth, taxes, making sure that we just create balance in their life so that they can really allow themselves to find purpose in their planning.
Yeah, that's awesome. That actually, it really harmonizes with what this podcast is about. You're taking financial capital and helping to teach folks how to do that, and this podcast is about cultivating human capital, right? And in the same exact ways, to leave something greater than just something for yourself, right? And how are you wielding and investing your life and your person to help others go further, faster, to leave something greater in the world than when you first found that regard.
Well, I'm glad you brought that because I really had a problem with my career for a long time.
Yeah.
Because when you start focusing on Christ as your Lord and Savior, well, pretty soon you look at money, and money, if you focus on it wrong, can be evil. And financial planning can be about greed and gluttony and vanity and all that stuff. And so when I chose to make it more of a ministry, is when it started to have purpose. And so that's been what my goal has been ever since.
Yeah, I've heard it said something along the lines of, money's a terrific servant, but a terrible master.
Absolutely.
And it's a great tool. And sometimes I think even, it seems like today, like, whether you're a Christian or not, sometimes we get this weird taste in our mouth about money, as if it were like something bad, and we don't want too much of it, or or wealth isn't everything in that sense. But I think of something like Solomon says, like money answers everything. And when we start to view money as a tool and how it can work for us and serve us, we realize, okay, well, hey, the more that I have, the more good I can do in the world. And that's kind of what you're doing, is helping people to not view money as a bad thing.
Right.
Let's restore that, and let's restore a right relationship with money, and then teach them how to wield it well in the world.
Well, and the Bible mentions many different places about finances, because God knew that it was going to create a God in itself if we let it. So what we want to do is we want to try to make sure that we keep it in its place. It's just a tool, just like anything else. Just like the food we eat and the air we breathe and everything else, the cars we drive. I like driving cars. But when it becomes a god is when it starts to fit into a wrong place in my life.
Exactly right.
Same thing with money.
Yeah. Don't let money master you. You master money. Don't let your cars master you. You master your cars. Or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
Blank. Yeah. That's good. That's awesome. So, are you born and raised in Green Bay? Or where are you from?
Actually, originally from Milwaukee. My parents moved around a lot. So when people it's funny when they ask those security questions, what street did you grow up on?
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you. There's a whole bunch of them, yeah. Probably could pick any one of them and probably be correct. No, we moved probably about 7 different states altogether, and different towns and so on. But originally, I still would call home, air quotes, Milwaukee. Yeah. But I've been in Green Bay since 1997 is when I came up here.
Yeah, very, very cool. So tell us a bit just about why you do what you do. When did you kind of know that you really wanted to help people better understand and use and build their finances, leave something greater than something just for themselves? Like, kind of help us understand the why behind, why are you waking up every morning and still giving yourself to this kind of work?
Well, there's 2 ways to answer that. So I'm going to answer it as why do I do it now versus why did I start doing it. But the reason why I do it now is because of the dependency that people can have on money. If people get into a situation where they're focusing on the wrong thing, it's amazing how debt can kill people, or not kill people, but ruin relationships, ruin lifestyle, ruin everything. It's amazing how taxes can do the same thing. It's amazing how people get themselves into a retirement that they're dependent on the market being good if they're going to have a good day.
Yeah.
Again, that's allowing money to become a god of sorts in your life. The reason why I started was totally by accident. I was doing health insurance, employee benefits. That was my main thing that we did. And went through a really tough spell, lost everything. Went through, make a short story long. What the heck, it's a podcast. Not worry about sponsorship breaks and stuff. But anyways,
break it down.
But 2000, early in my career, I built a very large business in employee benefits. We got to the point where we were making stupid money. Wasn't a Christian yet. Money was my god. And I got to the point where it was all about me. Went through a divorce and just said, whatever, it's all about it. I became very vain in my business. Fast forward a little bit, met somebody and she had me go to church, and she was totally the wrong person, but the right person to get me into an introduction with God.
Yeah.
It's weird how God will use weird different situations. So what happened is I started going to church, started studying the Bible. In 2004, fast forward a little bit, I came to Christ. I'm driving down Ashland Avenue and in my BMW 740IL, windows open, and like, God, this is all yours, take the wheel. In my mind, I was going to let God in. From that moment on, everything stupid that could happen to my business happened. I mean, we had 300 agents and agencies that were brokering business through us, and I was an agent's agent. I was training people. It was still about Matt being on stage. It was still about Matt collecting a paycheck. But every single time I would lose something because of business going south, I could almost hear God saying, "Do you love me now?" I'm like, "Yeah, I do." But I lost home, lost car, lost house, lost boat, lost pretty much everything. In fact, people said, "Matt, this is your Job moment." I said, "Man, have you read the book of Job? I just lost stuff, so don't wish that on me, man." But I did lose a lot. Ironically, one of my clients wanted to sell his business to his partner. And he said, "Matt, I'd like you to help me do that." And I said, "Yeah, I have no experience. Why not? I'll try it." So it ended up being a great launch into financial planning. I stumbled into it, I say by accident. God opened up a door, and I just had enough, whatever, stupidity or whatever, gullibility, whatever it was, I had enough opportunity to say, "Yeah, I think I'll take that challenge." And what we did is we ended up building a great plan. It was a great restoration. God launched me into a career that allowed me to be able to sit on both sides of the table now. I can sit with business owners and talk about, yeah, you're blessed or cursed with affluence, you're getting slammed with taxes. Let's talk about a strategy, how to get that. How do we unpack your business? And I can have that conversation.
Yeah.
But I can also sit with the person that comes into my office and says, "Matt, I am struggling. I am struggling with debt. You have no idea what I'm going through." And I can look at them and say, "Yeah, I do. Let's walk together and get through this." So.
Yeah, that's so interesting. So, out of death comes life, right? You had a kind of a death and resurrection there, and really, 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 really neat to where what you're doing now has a sense of impact and significance and fulfillment in your own life, and has allowed you to even have a healthy dose of sympathy for your clients that you're walking through. You're not going through their exact situation, but you've been there before. You've been in the trenches, and you can walk them through that. That's awesome.
Well, it's funny because I've been through divorce, and so people ask me about relationships. I'm like, "Dude, have you seen my resume?" I'm like, "Okay," but I am able to go through and talk about that pain. And again, I hated the scars when they were being inflicted, but I love the results of the experience of those scars to allow me to walk hand in hand with clients, friends, family, whatever.
Yeah, and I mean, and again, how you're talking about it is exactly what this podcast is. You know, folks that are saying like, "Hey, I'm aspiring to build this business," or "I'm leading this group of people," or I have massive influence, and where I want to have that type of thing, and you be able to pass on some of those failures or mistakes that you've learned, those scars, even like what you're doing in your current line of work right now, to help improve somebody else's life. And again, that's exactly kind of the I guess one of the great purposes of this podcast is to be a sort of catalyst. People that you will never probably meet and never know unless they decide to reach out to you. You could radically, just by them hearing this podcast, hearing a bit of your story, radically change the course of their lives for good, which is awesome.
I'd be humbled if that happened. Yeah. That'd be awesome.
Hey, this is Kyle. Well done on your decision today to be great. Those are my kiddos in the background. Hey, if you want more of this kind of content, find me on social media. We'll keep the conversation going. You can hit me up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, at StartWithWNTD. Again, at StartWithWNTD. We'll see you there.
All right, so let's get into it, right? You've had success, you've had failures, and now you're seeing success again. And you're seeing success through the means of helping other people, which is really, really cool.
Right.
As you look back on the course of your whole entire career and your story, your journey, what are a few things that you've done right along the way that have helped you to see the success that you've had, both now, before you lost it all, or both before you lost it all and then also now?
I think the things that allow me to have sex. Success would be my wife saying, okay.
We're not editing that one.
That is awesome. Honey, if you're listening, I'll be talking about this later. But what allows me to have
exchange
stays at the exchange. Success is actually, first of all, allowing yourself to be open to opportunities.
Yep.
I think so often we try to stay in the lane that in our mind we say, this is what I need to do, and be blinded by the opportunities that God provides. If I would have said, no, I sell health insurance only for employee benefit plans, I would have never gotten into this career by helping a client who wanted to sell his business. If I didn't leave myself open to conversations with people who didn't fit the air quotes perfect client, I would have never been able to impact people's lives like the way I do. And if I didn't allow myself to seek ministry opportunities, because to me, business is just an opportunity to sit down with people. It's a chance to build relationships. If I focus on the wrong thing, if I focus on money first, I have to focus on the need. I have to find the need and I have to fill the need. So if I look for the need first, and I, for example, if somebody comes to my office and they say, and I say, what are some things that are important to you? And we get in a conversation, and they're struggling with debt, and I can tell that debt is the first thing on their mind. Do you think they're going to care about a mutual fund portfolio? Do you think they're going to look at, well, you should see the stock over here? They need to get rid of that pain first, otherwise they can't focus on any solutions. So I want to help them get rid of the pain, but allow them to realize what got them there in the first place so they don't do it again, and then we can focus on the rest of the planning.
Yeah, that's good. Anything else that you'd say as you're looking back, the things that you've done really right in your career? When I allow God to be first. When I allow God to be first, because there's so often I'll sit there and I'll worry and I'll stress and everything else, and if I let go and let God, it's amazing how much sun you can see through the snowstorm. So you're coming from a Christian worldview, and not all our listeners are going to. So when you say put God first, can you help to give some context for what you mean when you say that?
Yeah, because so often
folks that might not get.
Well, let me secularize this for a little bit. So often, I think it was Earl Nightingale that said, 80% of what we worry about are things that we cannot change. And Jesus says, don't worry about tomorrow because today has enough problems of his own.
Yeah.
So it's amazing how many secular views come from the Bible. But the thing is, if we sit there and we focus on the wrong thing, and we focus on, as my dad would say, stinking thinking, if we allow that to rule our day, there's no wonder that people become unsuccessful because they allow themselves to think the wrong way. If you play baseball and you get up in the batter's box and you look at the pitcher and say, man, that guy is fast, he's going to strike me out, you know what he's going to do? He's going to strike you out. Yeah. But if you face the challenge with, what? I prepared for this. I've been trained for this. I've been blessed with an ability. Then everything else, you may fail. Yeah. But at least you go through with the right attitude.
Yeah. So. Yeah, that's good. That's good. And so, what you're saying and having God first means that you get to do things His way, not just Matt's way.
Right.
Right. And so then, that changes the course for how that plays out, and that's really important too. So we all have a standard of ethics, right? As a Christian, right, the Bible's the standard, God's word's the standard. For someone who's not a Christian, I don't know. I mean, if you're an atheist, you probably get to make up your standard or whatever you think is, that, or you've got natural law, or if you're a different religion, that type of thing. But what you're saying is having God first is saying, look, it's not about that. I don't get to do what I want to do. I'm to love God and to love my neighbor, and I need to do things the right way to the glory of God. Right?
Well, it's kind of funny because...
How would you phrase that?
Yeah, if I'm going to, first of all, profess my faith, and if I'm going to, air quotes, have the fish on the back of my car, I better not be the person that cuts in front of you and flips you off, right?
Yeah.
So is it a different standard? Unfortunately, maybe. I mean, if you look at the Bible, treat others like you'd want to be treated. Love your neighbor as yourself. If we looked at all those things that Jesus taught us to do and we apply them to business, we wouldn't have to have 9 million disclaimers on every single thing that we sell. We wouldn't have a need for most attorneys. We would be able to go, hey, if someone bugs you, go talk to them. Don't post a big bash session on Facebook. If we just lived by the simple direction and the simple truths that are in the Bible, life gets so much easier. It gets so much better. Being honest is not a bad thing. We make it difficult because the world says, oh my gosh, if you tell the truth, you're going to hurt somebody's feelings. No, you're just being truthful. You're being honest. And it's okay to be that way. It's okay to have your own opinion as long as you're not bashing somebody for what theirs is.
Yeah, totally good. And a lot of that, like you're saying, a lot of what just seems common sense to everyone in life, whether you're a Christian or not, or whatever your belief is, there's a lot of overlap there.
Absolutely.
Respect, honor, loving your neighbor, doing what's right, not stealing, all that kind of stuff. And that's really important. And I think you highlight another thing. Like I had Chris Wise on from the C12 group.
Sure, yeah.
In the previous episode, really good conversation. And kind of like you're saying, like sometimes the business owner that has the fish on his truck is the guy you don't want to hire, right?
Right.
And when you talk about whoever you are, we're all living according to our values, and we want our work to be consistent with what we say we believe, that type of thing. So I think that's really important. And then even when you run it back to basic economics, if you have a product or a service and you're not doing it for somebody else, you're just doing it for your own, you're probably only going to have a hobby. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So all of life is a life lived in service to others. There's ways, and really good ways, ethical ways that you can monetize that, right? Like starting a good business and providing good value or service or product to someone, et cetera. But yeah, I think that's a really good point to highlight. We need to live according to our values in whatever we're doing in life, whether it's work or play or family or whatever it might be.
We should probably walk what our talk is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good. So, looking back, you didn't do everything right. You alluded to it in the first segment. So, you're scanning back into your life. What's 1, 2, maybe 3, failures that just easily rise to the top? That in Matt's mind, man, if I could have those back, I would definitely do it. Not that you necessarily regret it, but there's sometimes those ghosts that haunt you in the night, so to speak. What would you say?
Some of the big things would be, I would say believing lies. Because it's very easy to, when doubt creeps in, when in my faith, Satan tells you you can't, to actually believe that is true. It's amazing how often we don't get out of the dugout because we believe we're not worthy. The other big thing would be, I guess, it's just balance. The big thing is, as you're going through building a business, building a career and everything else, if you let things get out of balance, if you let your business and your pursuit of air quotes excellence outweigh family, outweigh your faith, outweigh the things that are truly important, it's amazing how much you're left holding a bag of money and stuff that ends up being empty.
Yeah, so on that first one with believing lies, how would you say that in a way to say don't do this? Would you simply say don't believe lies, or how would you pass that on in a way of saying what not to do?
Okay, well, if you look at as soon as doubt creeps in, just let it go, kick it in the butt, and say, you know what, I don't have time for you, because life's too short to not try. Life is too short to not try to make an impact. Now, impact may be something as simple as opening a door for somebody. It could be having a smile. It could be taking time for your neighbor who is snowed in or whatever, and saying, I'm going to invest in that person. Success is not. I think one of the things, as far as a lie, another lie would be believing that success is only monetary. Success is also the impact you make in others on a daily basis. and every single impact for the good is a success. And as you continue to mount up these minor, air quotes, successes, pretty soon you're building a mountain of awesome. So that to me, don't diminish success to just mean monetary.
Yeah. Okay, so riffing on that a little bit, maybe a good way to phrase it is, don't let doubt in, and if doubt has crept its way in, don't let it stay. Kick it out.
Yep, absolutely.
Because what you're saying on everything else.
Yeah, I kind of went on a tangent. Sorry.
No, it's good. It's good, but everything else is going to be a ripple effect from whether or not you let doubt in and whether or not you let it stay.
Right.
Because if that's going to be the guest in your home, it's going to wreak havoc. Mm-hmm. Kick it out. Don't let it in. Don't let it stay. Yep. So that you can go on and building with true belief and faith the work that you feel called to do.
Sounds good. Yep.
Hey, thank you so much for listening. If you haven't already, and only if you think the show deserves it, would you go over to Apple Podcasts and give us an honest, thoughtful 5-star review? This will really help us in our mission to equip the world for success.
So then you mentioned balance, and I think that's an important one, and that can also be a tricky one. How would you say in a way of like, would you simply just say don't lose balance, or don't get out of balance, or how would you tell someone who is saying like, man, I'm really like, what's that lesson that you're passing on? Don't do this.
Well, first of all, if you're going to have balance in your life, you need to be open to criticism. All right. Balance is not easily self-checked,
and doubt is not the same as criticism.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
Let criticism in.
Oh, right.
Keep doubt out.
Yeah. Well, constructive criticism, I think, would be good. But if you think that you're doing everything that you ought to with your family, ask your family. If you think you're doing everything at work, ask coworkers. If you're a boss, if you think, man, I am just it as the boss, challenge yourself to do a survey with employees with the promise that this will not impact their reviews or anything like that. Have them give you honest feedback. Encourage that. Because if you find out that, hey, everything that you thought was awesome, you may find out that those really awesome meetings that you do are ending up being so unproductive. The bottom line is balance is finding out mentors that can help you stay in balance so that your family life, your faith life, your business are serving one another. You need time to recharge as well. If I look at my calendar, I have a habit of plugging in as much as I can and creating as little space as possible. Well, if I don't create some white space, I fall out of balance. I lose creativity. So things that are balanced are going to be family, faith, business, creativity time, recharge time.
Yeah. So maybe a way to say that would be something like, don't shun criticism. And really, you want to actually seek it out. You want to be the one to take the initiative to go to your spouse, to go to your family, to go
Kids,
to your employees. And instead of just letting, because like in one sense we want to think like, hey, we did all the analysis, I know what we're doing, I did all my reflections, I'm good, right? And how we see the situation could be completely different how our wife or our kids or our employees are seeing the situation. And you're saying that criticism is so valuable. It's even like a mentor. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Iron sharpens iron, right? Yeah. But and if you were to, we've done this exercise at a networking group called Clear Mission, that if you ask somebody to describe you, how would they describe you? It's amazing the response you get. What are the top 2 or 3 things they would use to describe you? And you might think you're the best Christian on the planet, or you're the best salesperson. Or you're incredibly good looking. Oh, incredibly look. People love me. But all of a sudden, somebody comes back with a comment of abrasive, or short-tempered, or something like anything that you would be like, oh, man, am I really that? It's eye-opening. It's eye-opening. That's so good. I'm writing down, don't devalue criticism from others. And the flip side of that is you got to seek it out. we all have blind spots. We don't know. We don't know, and exactly what you're saying. And part of that, we might be afraid. We might be afraid to be confronted with who we really are. Mm-hmm. We'd rather just sell ourselves one narrative rather than have a whole or truthful narrative. But really, I think we owe it to the community around us, ourselves, our family, the world around us, to be as honest with ourselves as possible, because we're trying to be better. We're trying to actually max out our capacity. And if we're always just assuming that we have no weaknesses, no failings, no shortcomings, we're doing a greater disservice to the world, to our families, to ourselves.
We're not growing.
No, not at all. If you're not growing, you're dying, right?
Yep.
Any other failures that kind of, as you look back on your own life, lessons that you've learned that you think would be helpful for others to hear?
I'm sure there are plenty out there, but with massive amounts of therapy, I've forgotten them. No, I was kidding. I think where my business truly became successful, and again, I use the word success not just by monetary standards, was when I added purpose, and before, when the purpose was not defined clearly. As a business owner, you can find yourself just running in circles and just trying to put out fires and trying to do the next thing, and you get tied up with busy work. So when I didn't have purpose and I didn't invest in people, one of the best investments I had in my business is when I started expanding and adding people that were valuable, and I allowed them to grow within the business. They added value. They did great with the business, and it also allowed me to be free to do the things that I wasn't necessarily good at. So invest in people and add purpose to your business are the things that I would recommend not avoiding. And it's going to be awkward, especially the people part, because you get to that point where you're like, okay, can I monetarily afford this? I stress the more stuff that you can delegate to other people that you don't want to do or you aren't good at, that's when your business starts to thrive.
Yeah.
So
that's good. I think maybe a helpful way to phrase that is, don't stop at success. Move from success to significance, which is where you are when you found success personally for yourself. That's great. But significance, true impact, true purpose is actually reproducing that success in others. And that's exactly what you're saying is look around you.
It's difficult.
You're right. Look around you. How can you help them be successful? Because that's what's meaningful now.
Right.
Not just when you attain success, but now when you can actually help other people to grow and to be successful in those endeavors. That's meaningful. That's true impact. That's true legacy building in that regard. That's good. Well, as you're looking back, what would you do differently? You had a few failures. Mentioned that at one point you lost it all. So assuming that you got young guys wanting to start on a similar journey to what you took, how would you counsel them? What advice would you give them to help avoid maybe some of the same mistakes that you made?
That's tough.
Good luck.
No, that's tough because of the failures.
Yeah.
That's really allowed me to do what I do now. I think the one thing in society, one thing in our culture is that we try to avoid people falling down.
Yeah.
My goodness, I mean, think about, well, I'm older than you, but when I was a kid, man, we didn't have car seats. We sat on the front. I sat on my dad's lap. We were in front of the steering wheel with no airbag, right? And I mean, my goodness.
I remember we had a big station wagon, and while my parents were driving down the highway, we'd be crawling around the back.
Absolutely.
You're no different
than the Cardone.
Shooting at the cars.
Which nowadays you'd be thrown in jail because you're a terrorist or something.
Right.
But not. I'm talking about the guns. But no, I think what I would avoid, what I would give people the advice is don't do it half-heartedly. And I don't think I ever did anything half-heartedly, but I tried to do too much on my own without seeking counsel. There was a bit of arrogance, especially when I was first starting the industry. I'm like, man, I'm going to do this on my own. It's all me. I'm not gonna give anybody else credit or anything else. It's all going to be about Matt. So the biggest thing is seek counsel, seek out people that are successful, make it your own, but man, if you could find other people that have the same values, the same morals, the same ethics that are successful in your industry, don't waste time struggling trying to do it on your own. So, many advisors make victory sure. I think that'd be probably the biggest thing is, don't try doing it all on your own.
Yeah, that's good. I think, well, you probably heard the saying, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go with others.
Yeah.
And we have to know our breaking point. We have to know the threshold. If we're starting a business or starting on a path in life, yes, there's a lot that we have to do ourselves. But there comes a breaking point where if we're wanting to scale, if we're actually wanting to grow ourselves, grow our business, etc., we can't do it by ourselves necessarily. So, and we need wisdom and to know when that point is. And so you're saying even before we get to that point, we already need counselors, mentors in our lives helping us to understand, see things, giving us wisdom so we can be well aware of these things as we progress and grow, whether it's in business life, or family life, or whatever it might be, whatever we're aspiring to in life. It's important to have people that are giving us honest, true wisdom. They've been there. They can help us see farther than what we can see. They've been to the mountaintop, and now they're trying to help us come back up with them.
Well, yeah, and even successful people could also be people that are newer in the business, younger than this, but just have a fresh outlook that we never even thought of. Yeah. I mean, for me to sit there and try to understand somebody who's 20 years younger than me, what's important to them, I don't get it. So I have to seek out their wisdom and figure out, okay, what's making them successful? What are they relating to? So the thirst for knowledge, I think, is what allows people in any industry to continue to grow and be relevant.
Yeah, that's good.
All right, I want to know who's next. Who do you want to hear on what not to do? Which entrepreneur, which leader, which public figure in your network do you want to hear on the show? Maybe it's you. Maybe you need to be here. So let's connect me with whomever, and we'll sit down for coffee, a beer, or even a cigar, and together equip the world for success.
So you mentioned seeking counselors, seeking advice, knowing the breaking point, not trying to just go it alone or everything yourself, understanding when your time would be better spent delegating things, or part of that's understanding the strengths of others and seeing stuff that's on your plate that you could give to them that they would actually really enjoy and be really, really good at, and you're not. And so kind of understanding that also takes folks that are speaking into your life, helping to give you wisdom, maybe seeing things in ways that you don't see it, or they can see further down the road than you can, and that's helpful. And it's amazing, like in all of life, like we are inescapably influenced. We're always being shaped. It's kind of like being in a garden. If you are a rose, right? You started out as a seed, and the promise of your blossoming into that rose is wrapped up in that seed. And but your flourishing as a rose is contingent on the sun and the rain and the exposure to certain things and various threats and dangers. I think so much of life is like that, to where we all have such promise and potential within us, but depending on where we're planted, where we grow up, and what our environments are, can really determine the outcome of our lives in large capacities. So that said, I'm curious for you, and as you're looking back in your life, who was maybe a mentor or at least someone in your life that has really shaped and formed you in greater ways? Because there's probably a lot, but in greater ways than anyone else. Like, is there one person that comes to mind? And it could be someone that you knew, flesh and blood, but it also could be someone that you've never met before. Maybe someone that lived, hundreds of years ago, or someone, a contemporary but you've read all of his stuff, listened to all of his stuff, and he's really influenced you. And you would say, like, I wouldn't be where I am today without fill in the blank.
Yeah. I would say the person who influenced me, probably good and bad, mostly in my life, would be my father. He was work ethic as far as teaching me what it takes to put in the effort. Was phenomenal. My grandfather was awesome. He had a statement that I always use. It says, it doesn't matter if you're a ditch digger, but if you can speak and speak well, you can be head of the ditch diggers. And I love that. I've never forgotten that. So those two in my life, as far as work ethic, have been great. my mom, just how to live life and enjoy life and just be a free spirit. That'd be the other one. Those would be the three most influential, as far as shaping my youth to go into, what I am today. There's a whole bunch of, if this were a speech as far as the Academy Awards, I'd be going on a list. And my wife is phenomenal as far as inspiration on a daily basis of her main statement is how to be a problem solver, and so I love her for that. My music pastor, when I was becoming a Christian, influenced me in a way that he probably never will never see.
Who's that?
Dan Dinkler. This is back at Appleton Alliance Church when I went there, and it was so profound. It was so, and I was playing, and he had the music in front of me, and I play saxophone, and I was trying to read off the music and everything else, and it wasn't in my key, so I was transposing at the same time. So you're thinking and trying to be almost robotic. He came up, just grabbed the music, pulled it away, and said, "Matt, just play." And I did, and it was so freeing. But when we look at business and we look at life, if we try to keep ourselves in a box of what the sheet music says we're supposed to do, we can lose the feeling. We could become robotic. We could become transactional versus relational. So that was, and he probably, that one small little gesture, he probably never even thought about it, but it was really kind of an eye-opening, I don't need to be stuck in what everyone else says I need to be.
What a gift, in the smallest moments, and like you said, maybe he didn't even intentionally try to teach you a lesson or pass it on, but he gifted you something good. And it doesn't mean that what's written on the page isn't important. Right. But if we lock into that and we exactly like you said, we just treat it like a box, we're missing the whole point. That should actually be like a launching pad for what we can do. Yes. We can take it and then boom, go from there. Yep. And in this particular situation, it was actually better for not only for you but the entire team, probably those that were worshiping in that congregation, for you just to put the notes aside and just, in a sense, play what you hear and move in that way.
No, to clarify, he didn't do this in the middle of the service and pull his sheet music and say, "Matt, that would have been a little awkward." This was during a rehearsal. So
his name was Dan?
It was Dan Dinkler, Dan,
if you're listening to this, thank you. Thanks for helping Matt get out of the box.
Absolutely. I was stuck. I was stuck.
So this is kind of one of my favorite questions on the podcast, and it's always kind of funny. But in the day of the internet, in the age of the internet, everyone's an expert, right? Everyone can open their mouths and talk about whatever they want to talk about, right? And then they've got a platform to do it, and they can reach millions. That doesn't mean that it's good, right? It can be really destructive. I've heard the saying that sometimes the more closed-minded a person is, the more open-mouthed he is, right? Mm-hmm. As far as just the love of airing opinions and whatever it is. So I'm curious. I'm not so much interested in hearing the best advice you've been given. I want to know, Matt, what's the worst advice you've either been given or that you hear floating around these days? And I guess the way I usually set this up, kind of think about it, is that you're cranking away at the Exchange Coffee Shop in West Appear, and you hear Joe over at table 9 tell his buddy Pete, like, "Hey, you should go do this," and you stop, you freeze. It is absolutely the worst advice you've ever heard. The hairs on the back of your neck are cringing. You want to get up and just go interrupt these two perfect strangers you've never met before, because it was that bad. So I'm curious, what's the worst advice you're floating around these days?
Wow, there's a lot of really bad advice. I guess for me personally, when somebody says that they need to seek security in a job, to me, I cringe, because to me that's the most insecure place. And again, this is totally my opinion, because seeking security from somebody else You're putting a lot of faith in that business going well, that person providing a paycheck, the economy doing well, you getting not paid too much so you don't look too bad on a balance sheet. So if a person foregoes creativity and foregoes entrepreneurship and foregoes the calling that God may have for them for the air quotes security of a paycheck, and I know it's easy. This is probably making other people's hair in the back of their neck go up. To me,
this is a safe space.
Yeah. To me, that is the worst advice a person can have, because I just had a gentleman call me up a couple weeks ago. He says, Matt, I am going to be out of a job in about 2 weeks. Do you know anybody that's hiring? I said, yeah, absolutely. He goes, who? I said, you. You want a job, you want a career, build it. There's no, at that point, if you think how freeing that is. You don't have to have a great resume. You don't have to have anything other than a business plan, drive, determination, and the faith that God is going to pull you through, as long as you have a purpose behind the whole plan. So, to me, sitting there relying on somebody else for your success, I think is horrible advice. Yeah, in my opinion.
Well, it is one of my main goals to give you more in use value than what I take from you in cash value. And so, man, I love that this podcast is for free. And I really hope that you are finding just incredible value. Who knows, maybe in one of these episodes, you'll take an idea that will be worth $1 million to you. And that's so awesome. If you believe in this and what we're doing here and you'd like to give, you can go to patreon.com/whatnotttodo and you can give according to your heart's desire. But seriously, every little bit helps in our mission to equip the world for success. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I can agree more. And there's probably people that are listening right now that needed to hear that, right? It's actually one of the most, when we're talking about like, well, it's so risky to go out and try to do my own thing. Yeah, all of life is risk, and there are risks involved in going to your own thing. But the most riskiest position of all is trusting your life, your well-being, your cash flow, everything to somebody else.
Absolutely.
That could nix at any time. Now, certainly, I kind of liken it to like an indentured servitude. Mm-hmm. So, like, years ago, hundreds and thousands of years ago, there was a voluntary exchange between someone that wanted to be a servant and between an owner, right? So you're talking like biblical times, like that type of thing, to where there's a contract, and the servant really liked the master. The master took good care of the servant, mm-hmm. and then pledged like 7 years to work, right? And so I almost kind of like, it's not a 1-for-1, ratio here, but I kind of like working a job today as something similar. You're voluntarily wanting to work for a proverbial master or mm-hmm. boss, right. That's going to tell you what to do and when to do it and all that kind of stuff, and you have to do it. And but you want that contract because you think he's a good boss, he's going to take care of you, the company, all that kind of stuff. That's great. I think there's a place in the world for that. But I agree with you. I think maybe more than anything, we've been kind of like programmed or conditioned to think that, hey, life is all about Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. We're going to live for the weekends, and we're going to try to do it building somebody else's business, but really building someone else's dreams.
Absolutely.
And I think like when did we give up? Dreams in a sense are meaningless if we never actually act upon them. If we don't, like you said, have a plan, execute that plan. But since when have we found it more appealing or attractive in life to give up on our own dreams and try to go build somebody else's?
Absolutely. And even expanding that, this is going to be odd because, my background right now is financial planning, and I help people get into retirement. I will never, ever ask a person when they want to retire, ever. It's not a question that's ever asked during a meeting. I want to ask them, what does retirement mean to them? Yeah. So another bad advice I hear is, you need to retire at a certain point. Yeah. Most of my clients, I would say 90 to 95% of them, do not want to be irrelevant in retirement. Yeah. So getting them to a point where they still want to they want to have purpose. And in fact, this one guy said, "Man, I've built this expertise in my field. All of a sudden, I'm just going to not bless someone else with that knowledge." Right. why wouldn't you take and want to still make an impact? Retirement should not be the next step to death sentence.
Right.
Well, this should be, in the Bible, how many people were used in their 90s, 100s, and everything else, building arks, things like this? These were not 20-year-old kids. These were people that were relevant in what we call, air quotes, retirement. Retirement should just be nothing more than an extension of the gifts that God has given you, but maybe now you use it in a different purpose. You're working, you don't have to work, but you're working now to serve. Doesn't that sound a lot better than sitting on a doorstep waiting for life to pass you by?
Oh, for sure. And the reality is, we've talked about this on other podcasts, but I think we have a moral obligation to be successful. And then part of that success is exactly what I said before, moving from success to significance, where we've been successful, and now we're giving our lives to really focus on reproducing that success in others.
Yep.
And that's exactly what you're talking about. Retirement's not a lazy river to death, to the graveyard, right? Retirement, that period of life could be, hey, how can I now take everything I've known, not just throw it away,
right,
reproduce it in others,
yep,
right, so that they can go and have a greater impact in the world. And that's an amazing legacy, the fruit of which, a guy who does that might not see it in his lifetime, but think about his kids and his grandkids, and it's just amazing the ripple effect that can happen exponentially when people have this, hey, I've had success, now I want to take that and reproduce it in others,
yep,
and how much of a better place the world could be because of that in and of itself.
A legacy should not just be a big fat paycheck to loved ones. A legacy should be the memories, the drive, the impacts that you've made post air quotes working. The legacy that you can show your grandkids and your kids that, oh my gosh, look what grandma and grandpa are doing. And look at the impact they're still making. Man, to me, that's relevancy in retirement.
Yeah, for sure, and it's so maybe someone's not doing the same work. If they were an accountant,
sure,
for their career, maybe they're not doing the same work. Totally cool, but it's not saying, okay, I'm done with work now. See you later. It's saying, what do I have to do in this season of life? What's my work in this season of life?
Right. And
if they did their working career right, it has set them up to really go all in on the second. For me personally, I don't plan to ever stop working.
Yeah.
Like as long as I'm thinking and breathing and and yakking away, and I'm able to do the things that I'm good at, that I enjoy doing. There's an economic opportunity available there.
Right.
I'm gonna do that till I die. Now, it might not always look the same, and that's exactly what you're saying.
Right.
Like, let's not focus on an age. Let's not focus on a certain point. But let's see this as a bridge to how your work is going to look like in this season of life, moving to something so much greater than just yourself. Yeah. Because what you've done isn't a waste, and we don't want to waste it.
Well, when I talk to my kids, and my kids are awesome, love them all, and that's some of the things we try to impart on them is like, don't sit there and focus on building money just for retirement. Plan on serving throughout your life. My wife is, air quotes, retired.
Yeah.
She no longer works where she was working. She was working corporate for 27 years. Now she works at the Croc. Her retirement is personal training, serving, helping people that are going through physical therapy. She put 45 hours in 1 week in her retirement, but my gosh, she loves it. She is fulfilled. And she also serves in my business too, but if you were to ask her what she does, it's not working with Matt. It's serving at the Croc, and the Croc is a health club, care facility, health club facility, kind of like the YMCA.
Yeah, the Ray Kroc thing, right?
Yep.
Yeah, awesome. Good stuff. Man, I hope you guys are taking notes. Some really, really good stuff in that.
Not while you're driving, though, please.
All right, so last but not least, it's rush hour in every major city in the world.
Absolutely.
Billions of people are probably listening to what not to do.
Take notes in rush hour.
Probably this exact episode with you, Matt. But it's a traffic jam, and so naturally they're kind of looking up and around, and they fix their eyes on a billboard. 7 billion people are watching this billboard right now, and Matt, it's your billboard. What message do they see?
Keep your eyes on the road. Watch where you're driving. No. Oh my gosh. I am so anti-billboard stuff. I'll be honest. It's kind of funny because most of what I do is through word of mouth, and if somebody asked me to put up a billboard, I really wouldn't know what to put up. I really wouldn't. I would say, if they're going to look at a billboard, I probably would do nothing to serve my business. I would do nothing to serve what I do. I would say, make God first, make everything else second. That'd be the billboard.
That's awesome. All right, Matt. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. If folks have been inspired by hearing your story, they want to reach out to you just to learn from you, to grab a cup of coffee, to explore doing business with you, just to learn more about what you do on that side of things, what's the best way that folks can get in touch with you?
Oh, let's see. They can go online to yourcornerstone.net, or they can call 920-243-4188. That'd be the office line, and hit the prompt that says Matt. Awesome.
And will if someone wanted to email, will that be on the website?
Oh, no. The best place to email me, this is where you do need to pull over and write down. It's Matt.Kowalczyk. It's KOWALCZYK at yourcornerstone.net. So going back to the question of what was the biggest mistake, it was making that email as long as a stinking novel. That would be...
Spell it out every time.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
How many seconds of your life have been wasted away?
Absolutely. Or writing it.
Awesome.
I wouldn't have to write it out. It's just a pure pleasure.
I kind of set you up because we'll have all this in the show notes, and so it was fun listening to you spell it out for everyone on the
That was awesome. Well, I appreciate that.
Well, cool. So, if you want to reach out to Matt, have it there. Check out the show notes. We're also going to have Matt's top 3 books in the show notes. So if you want to learn to think a little bit more like Matt, if you've been inspired by his story and you think you want to add a few things to the reading list, check out the show notes to see what Matt recommends as some of the top 3 reads. But Matt, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Man, I just love talking with Matt. He's always so positive, always smiling, always so kind. He makes you want to aspire to all those things yourself all the more. So let's recap what he told us not to do. First, Matt said, don't let doubt in. Don't let doubt in. And if it already crept in, don't let it stay. Don't let it stay. Doubt will literally cause the foundation for all you've built to crumble. It is going to undercut everything and every effort you make in life. So don't let it in. And if it's in, don't let it stay. Secondly, don't devalue criticism from others. Don't devalue criticism from others. When we get it, our pride kind of gets pricked and we want to start to put up these defensive mechanisms, etc. And we need to be able to step back and objectively ask ourselves, are they right? Is this criticism true? And if so, then we've got a great learning opportunity. And if not, then sure, we can set it aside. But it's really, really important not to devalue it or discount it from the get-go. And last but not least, don't stop at success. Don't stop at success. Move from success to significance. And again, what that is it's taking the success that you've personally experienced and reproducing that in the lives of others. You don't have to wait till a second half of your career to do that. You can be doing that now. Wherever you are finding success, wherever you are learning, learn for the sake of others. Well, I want to thank you so much for listening and remind you this isn't about me. This is about you, and this is for you. Man, I have so much joy in being able to broker these conversations and these life lessons, and I hope that you are impacted by that. Please be sharing this with others that you think would really enjoy this and be helped by it. Again, you can go over to Apple Podcasts, and if you think the show deserves it, give us a 5-star review. That would be a huge blessing to us in helping to get the word out to others. You can go to Patreon, and you can give monetarily if you want to support the show in that way. So many different ways to do it. But I thank you so much for you showing up here, you learning, and the best thing you could give to me is to take these lessons and apply them and go equip the world for success. Well, it's been said that good men learn from their own mistakes, but great men, they learn from the mistakes of others. So go and be great, and we'll see you next time.